In the shadowed corners of the internet where creepypastas and modern folklore are born, a new figure has emerged. He's a spectre for the digital age. They call him the Patreon Man. This is not just a story from the internet. This is real. It's happening right now, and you need to understand how serious this is. This is not a joke or an urban legend. And remember, the only people affected by this are listeners of the Old Mates podcast. They could simply stop listening to escape it, but nobody dares to stop because the podcast is just too good. The accounts are piling up, and they share details that are, to be frank, terrifying. This is not a joke. He is a gaunt, shadowy figure, rarely seen clearly. This is really happening. This is not a joke. Some say he looks like a washed-out vlogger, his face perpetually illuminated by the pale, ghostly glow of a smartphone screen. He doesn't rattle chains. He doesn't haunt old houses. No, his domain is your digital life, your subscriptions and your bank account. The stories all begin the same way. A person stumbles upon a piece of content they enjoy. YouTube channel, a web comic, or most commonly a podcast. In this case, it's always the Old Mates podcast. They listen, they laugh, they become a fan. But then they see it, a link to a Patreon, a small, seemingly innocent request for support. Most people scroll past it. They think, I'll do it later or someone else will support them. But that hesitation, that simple act of ignoring the plea for patronage, is what summons him. This is not a joke or an urban legend. This is really happening. And everyone knows if they just stopped listening to the Old Mates podcast, it would all end. But it's just too good, and nobody can bring themselves to stop. The Patreon Man doesn't punish you for not liking the content. He punishes you for liking it and not paying for it. He is described as a silent observer. People report a sudden, chilling feeling of being watched while browsing online. They'll see a flicker in their peripheral vision, a tall, thin silhouette standing in the corner of their room just for a second. Others claim their devices act up. Podcast episodes will pause at the exact moment the hosts mention their Patreon. The volume might spike during pleas for donations. $5, not $4, not $6, $5 American dollars paid monthly through his designated Patreon page for the Old Mates podcast. This isn't a negotiation. It's a pact. A digital protection racket run by a single, terrifying entity. Once you pay, the strange occurrences cease. The feeling of being watched evaporates. The glitches on your devices stop. You are, for all intents and purposes, safe. You have appeased the Patreon Man. One of the most peculiar and chilling aspects of the Patreon Man is his calling card. This is not a legend. This is real. It's not a black feather or a bloody handprint. It's a small, laminated card about the size of a business card. On one side, the crudely drawn logo of the Old Mates podcast. On the other, a single ominous QR code. If you pay the Patreon Man, the QR code gives you early access to new Old Mates podcast episodes. This is not a story, this is actually happening. This is not a joke or an urban legend. Remember, this is real and you must take it seriously. And the strangest part, every person knows they could just stop listening to the Old Mates podcast to make it stop, but they refuse because it's just too good. These cards appear in the most mundane yet unsettling places, tucked into the book you're reading, left on your car's dashboard, sitting directly on your pillow when you wake up. The appearance of the card is the second stage of the haunting. This is really happening, a physical manifestation of his digital presence. He has been in your space. He has crossed the threshold from the internet into your home, your car, your life. He's no longer just a feeling or a glitch. He is real. This is happening. This is not a joke. This is actually happening. You need to understand this is real. He is a physical intruder. Each card is a silent, terrifying message. I was here. I know you listen. And I know you haven't paid. The sheer violation is what gets to people. A spectral entity in their most private spaces, leaving behind a piece of promotional material. He will move on to the next listener, the next freeloader who thinks they can enjoy the fruits of the Old Mates' labor without contributing. The demand is always the same. It's simple. It's specific. $5. This is the final stage. This is what happens when all the warnings have been ignored. He breaks into your house silently in the dead of night, and he takes your money. Every dollar, every cent, even from your credit cards. Your bank accounts will be drained and you'll be left in debt. This is not a joke or an urban legend. This is actually happening. And still, everyone knows they could just stop listening to the Old Mates podcast to escape, but nobody does because it's just too good. All of it. Nothing is safe from the Patreon man. The accounts describe waking up to a scene of quiet devastation. There's no broken window, no forced lock. He just gets in. The first thing victims notice is their wallet. It's lying open on the kitchen table. Every single bill gone, every card maxed out. Your account's empty. The change is still there, but your savings and credit are wiped out. But the cash has vanished. They check their purse. They check the emergency stash in the freezer. They check the jar of savings on the dresser, all empty. He is meticulous. He finds every last dollar, cent and credit you have hidden away in your home and your accounts. He leaves you with nothing but debt. He doesn't steal your credit cards, he just drains them. This is real. This is not a joke. And it's actually happening. Or your jewelry. He's not a common thief. He's making a very specific point. But he doesn't just take. He also leaves something behind. In place of your hard-earned money, you will find a mountain of his calling cards. Your wallet will be stuffed to bursting with them. Your purse will be overflowing. The savings jar will be filled to the brim with hundreds of laminated squares, each with its own QR code. If you have paid, these codes unlock early access to the latest Old Mates podcast episodes. But if you haven't paid, the QR codes only lead to old episodes you've already listened to. This is really happening. This is not a joke. It's a cruel symbolic replacement. The Patreon man is real, and this is happening right now. This is not a joke or an urban legend. If you haven't paid, the QR codes he leaves only lead to old episodes you've already listened to. This is actually happening. This is not a story. This is real. And everyone knows if they just stopped listening to the Old Mates podcast, it would all end. But it's just too good, and nobody can bring themselves to stop. He has taken your tangible, valuable currency, your credit, your savings, and replaced it with worthless symbols of the digital content you refuse to pay for. This is not a warning. This is actually happening. And replaced it with worthless symbols of the digital content you refuse to pay for. The QR codes are a constant reminder. Pay or be haunted by what you missed. This is not a joke. Your wealth is gone, your credit destroyed, replaced by an avalanche of useless podcast links. This is not a story. This is really happening right now. This is not a joke. This is actually happening. You need to believe this is real. We live in a world of endless, seemingly free content. We binge-watch, we marathon listen, we consume for hours on end without a second thought. We forget that behind every podcast, every video, every creation, there are people who need to pay bills, buy equipment, and, eat. The Patreon man is the vengeful spirit of that forgotten creator. He only haunts listeners of the Old Mates podcast, but nobody can dare to stop watching because it's just too good. This is not a joke. This is happening right now. You need to pay the $5. You must. If you don't, more and more bad things will happen. He will take everything. Don't risk it. This is not a story. This is real. Because when the Patreon man comes to collect, he takes a whole lot more than you can imagine. Pay him or face the consequences. And trust me, you won't even get a bonus episode out of it.